So good day, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. First, on behalf of Cardinal leadership team, I want to thank you all for your interest. My name is Stacy Hartman. I'm the regional production manager for the West Coast. Some of you on the call today, we have already spoken. You're from the West Coast. I understand that the rest of you are sprinkled all over the rest of the country. So I just want to take this time to say thank you and welcome. We're really excited to showcase some of the power of Octane today. You might have heard us talk about this before, but at Cardinal Financial, we don't believe in waiting. We spent years and millions of dollars building the most robust platform in the industry because we do not believe that you should have to wait hours or days for a lender to do something on your behalf. Why wait when we can put the control in your hands? If you want to change the loan amount, great, change it. If you want to update cash to close, no problem. Go ahead and update your cash to close, debts to be paid, whatever the case may be. Your conditions will be automatically updated and immediately too. So once those changes are done, it is automatically and immediately updated in Octane. You need a COC, that's not a problem. That's a fully automated process that you don't have to wait in line for. What other lender can offer you that? For the demo today, we have Matt Carucci. He knows Octane inside and out. Matt is a huge support for our account executives. We value him greatly. He's going to show you today how quickly a loan can be registered and disclosed in Octane. The interface you are about to see is the same exact for a broker. At the end, we will open it up for Q&A, so please jot down your questions. We'll use the chat feature to communicate those questions. And without further ado, Matt, take it away.
Thanks, Stacy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with everyone. And you should all be able to see my Octane now. Stacy, just give me a heads up that you can.
We got it.
Perfect. Okay, so today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through how we take a 3.2 file all the way to disclosing directly to the borrower. All of that is in the control of the broker's hands. There's no waiting on us, like Stacy mentioned. Again, to reinforce this, if you have any questions, use the chat function. We'll address those at the end. And again, don't pay so much attention to where I'm clicking, but what I'm explaining to you in the background that's happening inside of Octane and the control that that passes on to our broker partners. So for this example, I'm going to go to Add Loan. I'm going to have it as a Fannie Mae import. The application type, I'm going to leave as application. But we do have other options. We do have TBD options. We can do a credit underwrite with a pre-approval only, so that self-employment income, any tricky income, assets, we can actually have an underwriter sign off on that so our brokers can really pass on a true pre-approval. And then we have pre-qualification only if they'd like to run AUS in our system. Totally free. They can run that as many times as they want. And they can also take advantage of our income calculators with all three of these options. And I'll show you that here in a little bit. So I'm going to leave this as application. Today, I'm going to be a loan officer. My processor, that's synonymous with transaction coordinator for us. For this example, I'm going to leave it unassigned, but your broker would go in with this drop down and they would select the processor that they wanted for that loan. And then their compensation type. I'm going to go with borrower paid fee and price. But you do see that we do have lender paid, borrower paid, fee and price, and upfront fee options available. And then the SE here is just the region that I'm in as a loan officer. So if your broker is in multiple states spread across the country, there will be different regions for them here on the end for pricing. This example, I'm just, again, going to go with borrower paid, fee and price. The credit service, I'm going to leave it as Credco, but your brokers, they'll have their credit service provider in the drop down here. We will pull mortgage only with scores or without scores for the broker if their credit service does not provide that to them at no cost to the broker. We'll eat that cost for them. So I'm going to go with Credco. Import liabilities, I'm going to leave it as no. But if your broker has added anything such as child support, alimony, if they've marked a bunch of dispositions on the liabilities as being paid off, they could change this to yes, and that's going to populate and pull through directly from their 3.2 file. So now I'm just going to drag and drop the 3.2 file, and I'm going to add the loan. So now Octane is pulling all of the information off of that 3.2 file, and it's creating a new loan. You see some warnings here. That's just letting you know that Octane actually ignored some things on the 3.2 file that it's automatically going to pull in off of the county website based on the property address. So I'm just going to go to loan. We're going to refer to everything along the top here as the loan ribbon. I'm going to refer to everything on the left-hand side as screens, and everything inside those screens I'm going to refer to as tabs. So the first thing we want to do is just authorize the credit report. So I'm going to click on the borrower screen. Anything with this teal text is hyperlinked to a new screen, so I'm going to click into this applicant. And then bottom right, I'm going to authorize the credit report. Yes, we have authorization. And then however the broker took the application, let's just say they took it over the phone. I'm going to set that. And now I'm going to save this before I leave the next screen. So now I'm going to go over to credit. I'm going to request credit. I'm going to request a new report in Octane. I'm going to click on the borrower. I'm going to click options. Normally the broker would click reissue and enter their credit reference ID number here. For this example, I'm just going to pull a new one because it's a test loan. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that credit report over. You're going to see the loan ribbon updates with the FICO score and the DTI. And you always have the ability to go to archived reports and actually view that in a PDF if you want to go back and check out that credit report. You can also see the liabilities that are listed on the credit report, and you have the ability to go in and manually adjust these. I'll come back to this at the end to show you how neat it is in terms of our document screen, but everything is transparent to the broker and they can go in and manipulate these as well. So now that I have the credit pulled, I'm going to go down to terms and I'm actually going to select the loan program. I'm going to make sure everything is set up correctly in general and loan terms, and we give the brokers complete control. As Stacy mentioned in the beginning, if they want to change this loan amount, they can actually come in and update this loan amount at any point in time throughout the process. And actually, we don't have any change of circumstance forms, so they can restructure the loan in Octane and redisclose instantly to their borrower. There's no waiting on a setup team or anyone on our side to actually push those out. So I'm going to say, okay, this looks good. This is how I want it. I'm going to go to get rates. I'm just going to go with a conventional 30-year fixed rate for this one, and then I'm going to click find rates. Octane is intuitive enough to know that we do not need any MI on this loan because our loan to value is below 80. So now it's going to pull up all of our programs that are available. So you'll see we have Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, Home One, Home Possible, Home Ready, and our own conventional X product. So for this example, I'm just going to go up and I'm going to click on Fannie Mae. I'm going to choose the rate and fee that I've discussed with my borrower, and then I'm going to simply click Choose Selected. So Octane at this point in time is doing a couple of things. You're going to see the loan ribbon update. You're going to see the rate and program pull in. The DTI is going to update. The monthly payment and APR will also update. In the background, it's also starting our smart documents, which will tell you a detailed list of everything we need in order to close the loan. At this point in time, just a couple of minutes in, the broker could actually lock the loan, and they will get a lock confirmation email sent to them instantly. No waiting on a lock desk, no waiting on secondary to get pricing. This is all live, and they can lock the loan instantly. So now that I've chose the loan program, I'm going to go to Workflow. And Workflow is our guide for moving the loan forward. Anytime you see a workflow step that's assigned to a member of the broker's team, it's their responsibility to complete this to move it forward. And again, with that teal text, it's hyperlinked, so I'm going to click into disclosure preparation. I have 2 tasks that I need to complete, and I have 9 critical checks that I need to fill out in order to send disclosures to the borrower. So this first task here, review and confirm broker fees and the charges and credit screen, I'm going to hold off on that one until I solve all these criticals in case they adjust the fees. But this one here, the credit report, we've already pulled that in, so I can go over here and mark that complete. What I like to do is I like to use the snippet tool. I'm going to take a snippet of those critical checks so I don't have to keep coming back to workflow. And it tells you where to go to solve the critical checks in the parentheses. So this first one, borrower Alice first timer, has dependents is not set. I know I can fill that information on the borrower stream. So I'm just going to go through this in checklist fashion. I'm going to go to the borrower screen. I'm going to click back into Alice. I'm going to come down to has dependents. She doesn't have any. She had 12 years of schooling. I'm going to put in an email address for her. I'm going to save that. And then I'm just going to keep going through the tabs up top and making sure I solve these critical checks. So we have one at HMDA, so I'm going to click on that. And this information will pull over off of the broker's 3.2 file. So I'm just going to come down here, borrower refused yes. I'm going to save that. Now I'm going to hop over to the tax filing tab. We do things a little different here. We do require all 3 years of filing status up front. What this allows us to do is it allows us to get an e-signature on the 4506T form, which if we need to, we can pull transcripts immediately. So we don't have to wait on sending a document to the broker who then has to pass it on to the borrower, who then maybe gets it back to us a day or 2 days later. So it is a little more work up front, but it saves us a ton of time on the back end. We're not about waiting, and that's why we want to get this information up front. So we can just go through and fill out the information here on how they filled out their taxes. And I'm just going to go ahead and save that. I'm now done with the borrower screen. I'm going to go over to the income screen. I'm going to click into Alice's primary job. And the nice thing about Octane is it's powered by Google. So when I type in the company name here, I can actually search Google and it's going to pull up companies, Marriott, closest to her primary residence. And I'm just going to go ahead and click on that and it's going to pre-fill this information for us. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now I want to show you some neat things in income as well. So if I go over to job worksheet, if I'm the broker and I have their pay stubs or a written VOE already, I can come in here and fill out this data and I can actually calculate this income the exact same way our underwriters are going to do it. So when underwriting the loan, an underwriter is going to come in and fill out this information to get their calculated income. So the brokers can actually go back in here and see exactly how the underwriters are doing it. If it's declining income, if the commission has been going down, they're actually going to leave comments here for you so the broker can follow along with what's happening on the loan. Also, we have job worksheets. So if I go in here and they're self-employed, I can add business income. I'm just going to leave this as a corporation, but you'll see here there are a ton of filing statuses here. Corporation is just one I'm going to go with here. And this is the same thing that the underwriters use as well. So they can take their tax returns and they can plug this information in line by line. It tells you exactly where to pull the information from, and the broker can calculate this income exactly like an underwriter. So going back to what I said in the beginning about application type, pre-approvals, pre-qualifications, this is an excellent tool if they have some of that tricky income that they want to make sure that the borrower is getting a true pre-approval on. They can come in and fill out this information and get an accurate number for that income. Again, comments up here if it's declining income or anything else, anything that the underwriter wants to draw the attention to. I'm going to cancel that here. We don't need any business income for this one. I'm going to keep going through my checks. I'm going to go down to transaction. Yes, the borrower is good to e-sign everything, so I'm going to mark this yes as an e-transaction, yes to the borrower e-signing. And right here we have an estimated funding date. If they need to change this, if this is not accurate, they actually can go in and manipulate this date as well. And then that will take into consideration the taxes as well as the per diem interest on the loan as well and update the charges and credit screen, which I'll show you here in a second. I'm going to go ahead and save that. I'm now going to hop over to the assets screen. And I just want to make sure that the borrower has enough funds in order for that down payment. So I'm going to go to assets. I'm going to go funds for closing. We have $150,000 available here. And we need to make sure that that down payment is coming from this savings account. Now, if a broker had a retirement fund listed here with $30,000, if we did not need that, we would just have the broker delete that retirement funds back on the assets tab so that we're not conditioning for it. If they need to add an asset, they would simply just add asset, and they can add a new asset and it'll be conditioned for in the smart documents right away. And I'll show you some of those features here in a little bit too. So now that I've done that, I want to go back to workflow, and I want to make sure that I don't have any more critical checks. And now all I have is this one task. I want to review and confirm broker fees in the charges and credit screen. So I'm going to go over to the charges and credit screen. And here is a detailed list of all of the charges that are associated with this loan. So the one that I want to check first is broker compensation. Yes, that is correct. My broker compensation is correct. Now this is borrower paid. So if the broker wanted to reduce their comp, they could simply click on broker compensation. They could unenable it and they can add that charge back in. Let's say they only wanted to charge 2%. They could do that directly in the system. They don't need to send us any forms. They can update that themselves. They just can't go over what their lender paid comp is here. They can't adjust this number up. So let's keep going down through here. If they have contract processing, that's going to be disclosed. Let's say this title closing protection letter fee isn't $35. They know that this is $70. Well, they can actually manipulate this fee themselves. They can click on that closing protection letter. They can unenable it in the system. Octane is now going to remove that charge completely from the disclosures, remove it from the LE, but then all the broker has to do is simply add the charge back in. They're going to add charge. It's all alphabetical order, so they just scroll down until they find that closing protection letter. They're going to open up a new fee, put in their $70, and they're going to add that back to Octane. So you can see that the cash from borrower up here is going to update now. So now let's say, okay, they've made all their adjustments. The cash from borrower lines up close to what they've told their borrower, exactly what they told their borrower. Again, they can manipulate these fees. I can now go to workflow. I'm going to go back into my disclosure prep. I've already done this now. I can complete this task. And now I want to send disclosures directly to my borrower. So I would click on send disclosures. I would complete this step. Yes, I'd like to send disclosures. And now Octane is going to send disclosures directly to your borrower. So here, anytime you see function, that means Octane is running automation in the background. It does take about 30 seconds for those disclosures to get out to the borrower. And you can always check that by going to Documents, going to Packages, and here's where the application disclosures will show up. So again, workflow, there's still some function that's going on there. You'll see that the elapsed time is about 1 minute. So once those disclosures happen, I'll be able to show you them in Packages. They're not quite there yet, so we're just going to wait on Octane. Again, usually this takes about 30 seconds to a minute for that to happen. One more step that the broker would have to do in order for the borrower to receive those disclosures would be go to the borrower screen. They're going to click into their borrower, and then you'll see here that there is a loan key. So this loan key is the access key for the borrowers to enter their disclosures. So the broker is in complete control of when the borrower can access those disclosures. They cannot get into them until the broker sends them this loan key. If they put in a cell phone number here and they save it, they can actually send that as a text message right to their borrower from Octane so that they can receive the loan key that way. The loan officer will come into Documents and go to Packages. They'll see their application disclosures complete is here. Here's a list of all of the disclosures that have been sent to the borrower. We send all of the broker-specific documents as well, so there's no need for them to double disclose, saving them a lot of time as well. So those are the final things you need to do in order to get disclosures out. The loan officer will have an e-sign button here and a true loan, and they can e-sign their portion of disclosures. So there are some things that I want to draw your attention to, and they really are the smart documents. So at the time of submittal, we give you a complete underwriting disposition of everything we need in order to close this loan. So if you look under the heading broker, This is everything we need from our broker partner in order to close the loan. So they're going to order the appraisal through Class Appraisals or an AMC, and we're going to actually retrieve it on the back end for them. If they need any adjustments to the appraisal, we'll actually reach out to the AMC. We'll ask for any revisions that need to be made, and then we'll gather that back for them as well, saving them some time and energy. Once we get title, we'll actually coordinate with the title company, and we pre-balance our CDs. So that is a nice thing that we do, so that once our loans are cleared to close, those final closing package goes out instantly. So I do want to show you some other things in here. If I just click on these pay stubs, not only do we tell you everything we need in order to close the loan, but we tell you the requirements for every single condition. So let's look at pay stubs. When I click on requirements, you'll see here that there are 12 things that the underwriter is going to go through in checklist fashion to make sure all of these are met. Now, let's say that something is rejected after it comes out of underwriting. Let's go back, and I just want to pull up bank statements because I have an example for this that I want to show you. So let me go into bank statements and go to requirements. You'll see here that there are 20 requirements for bank statements that we're looking for. Let's say that they are missing page 6 through 8 of one of their statements. Well, the underwriter is going to mark this rejected where it says pending here, and they're actually going to leave a detailed note as well. So if you look at my screen here, here's an example that was live. We're missing pages 5 through 8 of June through July 23rd statement. So there is no guessing at why something was rejected. You can go right into the requirement and see why that was rejected with a detailed explanation from the underwriter. So let's say this file came out of underwriting. You'll actually be able to get a conditional approval that lists everything that is outstanding as well. So here's a condensed version of what that looks like. You'll see here everything that we're still needing from the broker in order to close this loan. So it's nice and precise, nice, neat list for you. So those are a couple of things that I wanted to draw your attention to in the documents screen. If I go back to credit, you know how I mentioned earlier that you can manipulate the liabilities? If I go into liabilities here, well, let me first show you in documents that it's not here. You'll see that there's no payoff statement listed in documents. So now if I go to credit and I go to liabilities, and let's say this central bank installment loan here, it's actually not paid off yet, but they're going to pay that off at closing. Let's say they change this disposition, pay off at closing. The balance is $3,000. Let's say the payment is $75. I'm going to go ahead and save that. And now Octane is instantly going to update my smart documents with requiring this payoff statement. So now if I go back to documents and I look down here, you see payoff statement for central bank. And if I click in here and I go to requirements, again, it's going to tell us exactly what we need in order to satisfy that condition. So smart documents update instantly. Same thing as if I were to add an asset. Smart Docs is going to pull over the bank statements for that new account as well. We also have smart messages that go out. So if I click on the messages screen here, you're going to see that disclosures have successfully been sent. And this has been sent to the loan officer, the transaction coordinator, to let them know they have completed the workflow steps successfully and disclosures are now with their borrower. As the loan progresses forward, you're actually going to see more smart messages that come up. And what I mean by smart messages is Octane is automatically sending these out to the parties involved. This is not a manual step. It just keeps our broker partners and borrowers informed every step of the way. And here is a list that you can see of a loan that was in process. You can see the disclosures have successfully been sent. You can see here that there is a rate lock confirmation. We even let you know that a lock is expiring from an automated email address here. So this automatically goes out 3 days prior to a lock expiring, 2 days prior, and the day of, so that we don't let that loan fall off the hedge and have to hit our broker partners with a relock fee. So that's everything I wanted to show you quickly. I do see that there are about 8 questions in there, so I want to hop over to the chat function. If you have any additional questions, please keep adding them to the chat function. I will be able to answer those for you, and I'll field them as they come. So I'm going to go to the chat function here. Let me go all the way to the beginning. Oh, sort through some of that hearing stuff. Okay, how do you manipulate the liabilities in Octane? So I showed you that briefly, but you can also do some other things in here. If you go into those liabilities, let's say your borrower bought a car, all right? Now, hopefully that doesn't happen during the loan process, but if it does, you can actually add that liability directly into Octane and keep going forward. So let's just say Cars USA, you have the account number in here, 123 Main Street. Okay, let's say that it's in Charlotte. And then you can just fill out this information. Okay, you have it continued. You can put in the past due if there's any, the new balance. Let's say they bought a car again. Okay, they just purchased it. The payment is $375. All right, and now let's say they opened it today. Months left, let's say 36. Okay, this is 36 as well. And now when I save this, you're going to see that the DTI updates automatically with that new payment you put in, and it's going to show up on your liabilities now. So there is that Cars USA that we have. And if this is not on the credit report, if we go to documents, you'll actually see a document for this that we actually need that statement for the car. So right here, we need a credit supplement for that new credit account, Cars USA. So again, it just shows you how intuitive Octane is and how transparent we are with all the documents we're going to need up front. So let me go on to the next one. How do you change loan programs? How long does it take? Oh, that's a great question. So I did this as a Fannie Mae loan. Let me go down to terms. Well, first of all, let me show you AUS before I get into this so I can show you the nice thing about that. So if I go over to AUS, I'm going to run this as DU because it is Fannie Mae, and our broker partners have access to this every step of the way. So I'm going to go to submit to DU. I'm going to wait for the findings to come up. Now, the nice thing about this as well is we actually have key findings once this AUS comes forward, so you don't have to hunt around in the findings to see if there are some key elements in there. So once this populates through, you'll be able to click on the date and time, and it'll take you directly into those findings. So this takes just a couple of seconds for Octane to pull this over. I can now close that out. And again, if I click on the date and time, I can view this as a PDF, or if I want to just look at the key findings, I can click on key findings. I can see if there's an appraisal waiver, if there's any bankruptcies present in here, and if any of those things are, they're actually going to populate smart docs as well so that we can get some information revolving around that bankruptcy or any charge off, anything along there for the key findings. So now let me go back to your question about how do you change loan programs. So it's very simple. The broker will just go to terms. They're going to make sure that it's set up. So if they wanted to restructure this and change the loan amount, they could change the loan amount right now. If not, let's just say they want to go Freddie Mac instead of Fannie Mae. So they're going to get rates. They're going to come in, yes, we're still with a conventional 30-year fix. Now, if they wanted to change it to FHA, they could just click on FHA and remove conventional and find the rates. I'm just going to keep it with a Freddie Mac with a conventional loan. I'm going to find rates. I'm going to now wait for Octane to pull up those programs again for us. I'm then going to go to the Freddie Mac programs. I'm going to select the rate and fee that I discussed with my borrower. So I'm going to do a 4.5% so you can see it change up on the loan ribbon. And then I'm going to choose selected. And now Octane is going to update the loan ribbon again. And it's also going to update smart documents. So if I did change this to FHA, the smart documents are going to look different than they did on a conventional loan. And since that's a change of circumstance, all I need to simply do is process changes. It's going to tell you what's going to happen. It's going to resubmit to AUS. It's going to redisclose to the borrower if necessary, and it's going to notify the team that there's been an adjustment made. So I'm going to go ahead and click on process changes, and that is how quickly you can change loan programs. It's that simple. Now, if I wanted to go back to AUS, I can run LP here to see if I get a property inspection waiver. As long as I get an accept eligible here, it'll pull through for you. Oh, it looks like Octane is still running in the background, so data was updated, so I need to wait for that to happen before I can rerun AUS here on LP. So you get the idea, completely able to run all of those at any point in time. So let me start going down here. You stated an immediate prelim approval was available. Yes, so I went over that. You would go to documents, and then you can see everything that we need here for that loan. If you go down under system, you'll actually have an underwriting disposition all outstanding on a regular loan. Again, this is a test file, so I really don't have it on this one, but it'll say underwriting disposition all outstanding. And it will give you all of these conditions with all of the requirements listed underneath them. All right, so let's see here. How long does a COC take? Oh, well, that's another good question. We just did one, and it took a matter of minutes. So now if I go to documents, it's probably ready to see here. If I go to packages, oh, it hasn't updated yet. So we haven't seen those updated disclosures, but it does take just a couple of minutes for Octane to re-pull and resend those disclosures to the borrower. Very easy for the broker to do that. This is all automation at that point. They're already done with the change of circumstance. Okay, how do I restructure my loan? There's multiple ways that you can do that. If you need to add a borrower, you can go to borrowers. You can add that borrower in, fill out this information, and then it's just going to be authorizing the credit report, pulling in a credit for this new borrower, the same way we did it in the beginning, and then any new documents that we're going to need will populate in the Smart Docs. All right, so I'm going to skip over if I could show you the pipeline. I'm going to hold off on that one for right now, and I'm going to address what does the CD process look like. So the CD process, it comes back to the charges and credit stream. So once we have title, we're going to be reaching out to title to pre-balance our CDs. And there are 5 conditions that we need met in order to push this out. We need the loan to be conditionally approved. We need the loan to be locked. We need the appraisal back. We need title, and we need the homeowner's insurance. Once we have all 5 of those things, we're going to pre-balance this initial CD. And as long as it's 10 days before this effective funding date, we're actually going to fire that CD out. That's as soon as we can get it out, is that 10 days before this effective funding date. If your broker needs it earlier, they can go to transaction and move up this effective funding date to get that CD out. That's how the prelim CD goes out. Once we have that signed and we have an earliest consummation date, our underwriter, once they clear to close the file, the WCA, Wholesale Client Advocate, is actually going to push out the closing package immediately. So that's going to go to all third parties. So that closing doc is out right away at CTC. So that answers that next question there. Any different process with FHA Streamline? So it will be a little bit different. There'll be a couple other critical checks here that you'd have to solve, but the main process that you just went over is going to be exactly the same. We don't have any major overlays for that. If you needed to pull a credit report for mortgage only or mortgage only with scores, you can actually do that in the credit screen. But the process is exactly the same, and you'll also have those Smart Docs as soon as you submit it. You would just select that loan program in the term screen. Okay, can we view a closing package and closing instructions in the loan? Yes. So once that closing package goes out, just like the application disclosures, you'll be able to see it in your packages. So you can see here those application disclosures update has now been sent out to the borrower. So there's the change of circumstance being completed. You would actually see the closing package listed here under packages, and that'll have all of your closing instructions and everything directly tied in there. The broker can go in and view those at any time after they've been sent out. So let me keep seeing if there's anything in here. Any other questions, please go ahead and ask them. I'm going to show you guys some other things that might pop up that you can actually do. If you go to the property screen, you can actually come into the property and make adjustments to this too. So if you find out that there are solar panels, you can actually put in here, let's say that they're financed, you can put who they are here, solar, I don't know which one is, but power purchase agreement, let's say yes. And then if they have anything here, they're going to be able to fill this out. If I save this, it's actually going to populate smart documents for the solar panels as well. So again, everything that's built into Octane, if you restructure anything or change anything, it directly shows up in the documents screen. So you'll be able to see here if there's anything for the solar power here. You got the financing agreement and you have the solar power purchase agreement. Again, it'll have every requirement listed in there. If you go into the charges and credits screen, let's say you needed to update your homeowner's insurance, they went out and got a better policy. You can go to property insurance, go into hazard insurance, and you can update this amount. So obviously it wouldn't be zero. If it's 500 now, you can go ahead and fill that in. Once you save that, you're going to see the DTI changes as well as the monthly payment will update. Some nice thing about the DTI as well, if you're like, man, my DTI in my system only shows 15, yours is showing 25, you can actually click on the DTI up here and it's going to give you a breakdown of everything that's being calculated into that DTI. So it shows you a detailed list of everything. So you can go through and be like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that lease payment. So that's the reason why mine's showing lower than this one, or vice versa. Oh, you're counting this twice. So you can go in and manipulate the liabilities on that. Okay, so let's see here. Any other questions? Not yet. So I'm going to just keep going through and showing you some nice things that you have the ability to do. If I go back to charges and credit, let's say this was a new construction, you can actually go to the taxes and you can change those yourself. So these county property taxes, let's say, okay, that's just the county property taxes on the land. The house is now being built. It's $420,000. You can come into the property taxes. You can change that automatic no, and you can update this amount to the annual amount. You'll just match it up down here whenever it's paid. And again, this is just another example of how much control we give to our broker partners so that they can disclose their loans correctly, exactly how their borrowers have been told from their loan origination software. So I want to go back to, there was a question on, can you show us how to view our pipeline? I'm going to go and hop out of the loan. So I'm going to go back to my Octane home screen. And right here we have workflow queues, reports, and pipeline. So workflow queues, if you click into that, you'll see here that there are different workflow queues, and it tells you how many loans you have sitting in each one. So submittal preparation, I have one loan that's sitting in submittal preparation that, okay, Mr. Broker, you have to complete this workflow step to send it on to underwriting. So this just helps manage your pipeline as an account executive. You can see that, I only have one loan, so I'm going to call that broker and see if we can get that pushed to underwriting right now. You can go to reports, and this is a test loan, so I'm not going to be able to pull up anything. But if you click on these reports in here, you're actually going to get a detailed list of all of the loans that you have in process. So if you go to your active loans, you can actually pull up and see all the loans that they have in process. You would be able to export this to an Excel sheet if you wanted to format it differently. You could go in here and sort by effective funding date. So the sooner the funding date, you can have that up top so you know which loans you want to focus on first to make sure you meet those closings. You could come over here, you could actually sort by lock expiration date too to make sure that those brokers are staying on top of that and not letting their lock expire. You could sort it by origination team if you wanted to sort it by brokerage to see how many loans you have. You can come in and manipulate the data any way you need to. The rate search here is exactly what we did in the term screen. They can come in here and select their compensation type, fill out this information, and quickly price out a loan. We give some neat things to our account executives as well. The first thing is glance. What this allows us to do is it allows us to screen share and see exactly what is in our broker's Octane. So the broker can come up to support, they can click on share screen, and now all they have to do is provide their account executive or any member of our support team this 4-digit code, and they can actually point to things inside of the broker's Octane, have them click on it to get them to where they need to be to move the loan forward. All right, so does anyone have any questions? Anything that they'd like me to elaborate further on?
I think that might be it, Matt.
Okay. So I'll pass it back to Stacy to wrap us up here.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for your time. I hope that you got out of it what you intended, and your respected managers that you're speaking with will definitely be following up with you after the demo today, and you'll be hearing from us shortly. And I hope you enjoyed, and everyone have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.